League winner, must start, probably start, or flex. League winner, must start, probably start, or flex. There's only one quarterback on here. He can't be a flex. But Deshaun Watson, league winner, must start, or probably start.
You're probably going to start Deshaun Watson, assuming that your other quarterback isn't a stud must start. Lay out a scenario that it's week 13 and Heath's right. Justin Fields comes back down to earth. The people who have Justin Fields and maybe picked up Deshaun Watson, they're going to have to make a decision on who to start between those two. And Watson has the Texans. It's a great matchup just because the Texans, they're terrible against the run. So maybe it's a just get your feet wet game for Watson.
Revenge game.
And it's he played for the Texans? I didn't know that. Thanks, Adam.
Think about that. His first game in almost 2 years, and it's against the Texans.
Yeah. The NFL knew how to get that going. Go ahead, Heath.
Yeah, no chance I'm starting him in his very first game. I'm hopeful that he's a probably start, but I'm not starting him in his first game. Like I saw him in the preseason. I need to see him play good football first.
He was terrible and he looked uninterested. What if your other option is Russell Wilson?
I mean, there's lots of time between now and then to change that.
Well, here's the thing. Think about all the quarterbacks going to new teams or getting new coaches. It has really taken a while for them. Kirk Cousins, it's been fine, but actually very encouraging, by the way, with Kirk Cousins. I didn't know how I was going to fit this in, but I'll just say it right now. His last 2 games since the bye, by far his most air yards. He's finally throwing the ball downfield. But Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson, some of these guys may not be that good, but it has taken time for these guys to adjust to new systems, new coaches, new offenses. So that's really the question is, who is Deshaun Watson when he comes back? Is he Deshaun Watson? Because that was a top 5 quarterback, one of the best players in football. Or is there going to be an adjustment period? That's really the question. So league winner, must start, or probably start Deshaun Watson.
I'm not starting his first game back.
He will be a maybe start.
All right. Thank you guys for answering with 2 things that were not on the
option.
Maybe your options weren't so good.
It's legit. I was joking. All right, Dameon Pierce. So he has 12.2 to 15.7 PPR fantasy points in 4 straight games. Is Dameon Pierce a league winner? Must start, probably start, or flex?
Must start.
I'd qualify him as a must start as well. Okay. Holding just short of calling him a league winner, but he was the type of player that you picked in the middle of the late rounds and has turned out to be somebody who's helped you get to hopefully a winning record in fantasy. That's kind of the definition of a league winner. Not quite the definition. You got to be great in the playoffs, obviously, but someone who helps you win your league.
I don't want to.
He's a must start. He's a must start.
Yeah. Okay. I just to clarify the terms. I don't want to think of it as Dameon Pierce is a league winner because of where you drafted him, or a guy like Ramondre Stevenson, and we're going to talk about it next. I'm just mean from this point forward, what is he? Ramondre Stevenson, is he a league winner? Must start, probably start, or flex?
I guess I need some further clarification on the difference between league winner and must start.
Okay, so Ramondre Stevenson over his last 7 games has been a league winner. He has been the number 8 running back per game in half PPR, the number 6 running back per game in full PPR. I would say that Jamal Williams has been a probably start. What did I say? Yeah, a probably start. League winner and must start are a little vague. But I think league winner implies sort of like fantasy superstar, and must start imply who would be a must start. Mike Evans would be a must start. And
give me a surefire league winner is Christian McCaffrey.
DeAndre Hopkins is a league winner. Mike Evans is a must start.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So Ramondre Stevenson.
Must start.
Okay. You think he will be a little worse going forward?
Yeah.
There's potential for it because Damian Harris will be there. He'll take some work away. I think the Patriots love Ramondre Stevenson. I think they're at the point where they trust him the most. They want him out there the most.
And the passing downs work. I mean, he's getting so much production there, but
it's great.
We'll see.
Really, really good.
He becomes a factor. All right. Alvin Kamara, league winner, must start, probably start, or flex.
Here's another player who was on I don't want to say you should sell high on him, and he's not quite a sell high, but maybe you consider trading him away because Jameis figures to be back eventually. His target rate with Jameis is half that of with Dalton, almost half. There's like 1 percentage point different. I think he's still a must-start fantasy running back, even with the schedule coming up, even with the offensive line right now not being in great shape.
He has 12 and 11 touches in his last 2 games, 62 and 45 yards, and he has only scored 1 week this entire season.
Yep. Yeah. So this is Kamara we're talking about. So the league winner, must start, probably start or flex.
I'm going to leave him in the must start conversation, but there's really not very much at all about his recent performance that justifies that.
I will give you, though, a few reasons to be optimistic. Dave mentioned the target share lower with Jameis Winston. Also, Michael Thomas played in those games, and Kamara was not exactly healthy at the beginning of the year. He left at least one of those games with an injury. Played at kind of a normal snap share, but he had
right. Yes. 2 games with Winston.
Yeah, 2 games with Winston. Michael Thomas played in both of those. He played in the first 3 games. And I have in his career, there's been a big difference in targets with and without Michael Thomas. In the last 2 games, they've been bad, right? They've been 9.2 and 7.5 PPR fantasy points. They have been terrible offensively against the Ravens and the Steelers. They scored 23 combined points. They had the ball for 22 minutes in one game, 21 minutes in the other game. That's just so bad. Winston could hopefully juice them up a little bit, and they'd have a normal game script, a normal time of possession, because the previous 4 games he was a league winner. But also he did score all 3 of his touchdowns in one game against the Ravens. Keep that in mind with Jonathan Taylor, who we're going to talk about next. Raiders. Keep that in mind.
His next 3 games are Rams, 49ers, Tampa Bay.
That's no good. That's no good. All right, but so things could get better, but the schedule gets worse. All right, so you guys are going to say Kamara's still a must start, not a league winner. Jonathan Taylor just had a huge game. It was against the Raiders. What do you think going forward for Jonathan Taylor?
He's at the other end of the must-start spectrum than Alvin Kamara. So Kamara was at like the tail end of the must-starts, where like one more bad game and you're going to put him in the probably start. Taylor is like one good game away from going back to being a league winner.
I'm going to say league winner because I'm just looking at the playoffs, and he has the Chargers and the Giants in week 16 and week 17. And I think he could be the number 1 running back in fantasy for the last 2 weeks of the season. If that's not a league winner, then I don't know what is.
I think the other hope is that Matt Ryan could give him 4+ catches a game. He had 2 last week, but they didn't throw that much. They play Philadelphia. They got some high scoring teams coming up, and that was a valuable role in the Matt Ryan led offense. Leonard Fournette, league winner, must start, probably start, or flex.
Flex.
I'm flex at best for him.
Who would you rather have rest of the season, Rachaad White or Leonard Fournette?
Rachaad White.
Flip a coin. I think it's probably Rachaad White. That's the way to lean right now. But I do think it's just worth remembering that even though Rachaad White started last week, when Leonard Fournette got hurt, he had been far more productive and far more efficient than Rachaad White. White had 1 long run after Fournette got hurt.
How about Chris Godwin? League winner, must start, probably start or flex.
Last week convinced me to put him back in the must start.
League winner for Heath.
Yeah, Heath loves Chris Godwin.
I'm just going to stick with my idea that Godwin should continue to get better as the season goes on. And I could not care less that he's only scored 1 touchdown all season. So, league winner.
What was his yards per catch last Sunday? I don't know. I'm looking at it. I've got it right here.
10 point.
Yeah, it was a little more than 10. A little more than 11. Right. 6 for 71. First time in a while that's been that high.
Well, I have 2 more even better stats. What am I always bitching about with Chris Godwin? Is route depth. Right.
That definitely changed against Seattle.
Season high route depth, second highest ADOT of the season. I think that's an encouraging sign.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, he has been over the last 7 games, his last 7 games since returning from injury. He has the 3rd most targets, 4th most catches, 12th most yards among the wide receivers. Go ahead, Heath.
Yeah, and his yards per catch was 12.5 in week 8 against Baltimore and 15.8 in week 6 against Pittsburgh.
Allen Lazard, league winner, must start, probably start, or flex. Allen Lazard.
Probably start.
He's he's right next to Alvin Kamara on the fence between must start and probably start. I can't fault him for one bad game. Literally his second worst game of the season was against the Cowboys. He's been pretty money as a number 2 wide receiver. I still say he's a must start.
The one thing that's really interesting about him, because it's his second worst game, and it's also 2 out of his last 3. But the whole 100 yards or a touchdown in every game, it's really worked out well for him. But if you don't think of it that way and just look at the yardage totals, he has games of 13, 45, 35, 55, 45 this season.
Yeah. So I just want to eliminate the 55 game because he left with an injury. He had 6 catches for 55 yards on 7 targets, and he played 60% of the snaps, which is just not bad, but he usually plays almost every snap.
Okay.
So let's take that one out.
So half of his games have been 45 yards or fewer, if you don't count the 55 one.
Yeah. There's no disputing that. I thought he was kind of getting on a roll. With the yardage. And then last week, as I've said 16 times, he got shadowed by Trayvon Diggs. Well, we'll see what happens here.
I think his best path is the James Jones role.
Sure. I mean, isn't that what he's been doing?
Yeah. But that's not, and you like,
I
you
know,
bet on that, but
at the very least, Alan Lazard will probably start. How about we'll do 2 more? Deebo Samuel.
We hesitate, don't we? Probably start.
Might be a flex by next week, though.
He scored fewer than 16 PPR fantasy points in 3 games in 2021. That has happened 6 times in 8 games in 2022. Yeah. However, his efficiency metrics are pathetic. They will definitely come up. He'll be better. But, by the way, Brandon Ayuk has got to be a sell high. Look at what he's done the last 4 games. 80-plus yards every game. He's catching almost every target. He cannot continue to produce like this with 7 targets a game. You guys agree or disagree?
I agree, especially this week with so many players on bye. I wonder if you could turn Ayuk. What would you have to throw in with Ayuk to get Lockett or DK? Probably not that much. And then you just eat the bye with those 2 guys. You might be able to do the same thing with Evans or Godwin. So if you're rich at receiver in week 11 and Ayuk is one of those receivers, that's a move you can make to kind of boost somebody on their wide receiver conundrums.
I have no idea what the perceived value of Brandon Ayuk is.
True.
Would you like my answer on that?
Yeah.
I would assume he's valued as like wide receiver 24.
Wide receiver 22.
Yeah, I think if we're worried about Deebo Samuel, then we should be selling high on Brandon Ayuk. It's not like Ayuk is getting a lot more targets than him.
You don't think he can be wide receiver 24? Or you think because he's been a lot better than that.
Here's the thing. Before these last 4 games, he was looking like a drop. We were talking about him on the drop-o-meter. There's so many mouths to feed. If they have good defense, they throw 28 times a game. So, I mean, the case is simple. And then wide receiver 24, sure, he probably can be that, but I just don't think he has top 12 upside. I do think Metcalf and Lockett have top 12 upside. I don't think they're going to get there, but at least they have that potential. So I would make that trade personally.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would.
Of course.
I don't think anybody would give you Tyler Lockett for Brandon Ayuk. They probably wouldn't give you DK. Yeah. No, I think DK's perceived value is much higher than Ayuk's. His value might
because of the buy though. That's the thing. Right. You got to go. You got to attack the fantasy manager who's got a player you want that's on a buy and needs a win this week. It really is a very good strategy. All right. Last one. Michael Pittman must start. League winner must start. Probably start or flex at best.
League winner. No. Flex at best.
Oh, I think he's a probably start. You think Paris Campbell is better than him, Dave?
Statistically, he has been.
Do you think he'll be better in the rest of season? Got to say Pittman, right?
You don't have to say Pittman. I think the general consensus is that it's Pittman, though.
Well, what do you think? I mean, who are you taking, Pittman or Campbell?
I think so. This is one where Heath has always brought up that is the trade chart my opinion or what I think the general public thinks. Campbell, I don't believe is even on the trade chart. He should be. Pittman is. I'll say Pittman, but there's a piece of me that thinks that it's Campbell.
And when you say Paris Campbell has been better than him statistically, you mean last week or in Matt Ryan's last 3 games?
It's the Ryan's last 3 games, and that's what the situation is now, is that Matt Ryan's the quarterback. When Ellinger was playing, nobody was particularly good.
But for the season with Matt Ryan, Pittman's been better than Campbell.
Sure, he had a great start at the beginning of the year. Campbell did not.
Yeah.